man, what's going on, y'all? I press live at the tail end of a funnier conversation. But welcome to another edition of the Conscious Approach channel on YouTube, man. My name is JV Wins. That's Dogon SS as usual. Appreciate everybody for tuning in, man. Appreciate everybody for watching. Appreciate everybody for supporting. Before we get into it this week, I want to preface, as I always do, by saying, if you are just being introduced to what we do here over on Conscious Approach, man, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you can know whenever we publish new content to the channel, because we enjoy doing this. So we certainly appreciate you supporting what we put out into the ether. Go ahead and hit that like button. Comes at no cost to you. Wherever you're seeing this video on the various channels, go ahead and support, man. Share the video, like the video, but above all, please subscribe to the channel as we move forward with some positive momentum. We are on a race to 1,000 subscribers. That is our current goal. We are still small fry in the grand scheme of the YouTube ecosystem, so we certainly appreciate every bit of support that we get. And if you happen to be watching this on stream, or if you watch this as a standalone video upload, man, go ahead and leave a comment. Let us know what you think about the commentary in this video. Let us know where we went wrong. Let us know where we went right, because we really don't care if you disagree or not. We ain't trying to run a cult on this channel. We just trying to have some interesting conversation that hopefully we can, take something away from and become better people, I guess. Yeah. So enough with all of that grandstand, and we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. A platform of the channel. So we have friends of the channel, Lizzo's and Kanye's, Aries Spears, Will Smith, who else? Cardi B, Lori Harvey. We got a lot of friends on the channel. We refer to these individuals as friends of the channel because they provide us with the type of content that we like to talk about on this channel. And a platform of the channel, they aren't a friend per se because it's not an individual, but we commonly like to take cues from the We in Miami podcast because they tend to bring some interesting people onto their platform to have interesting conversations that we like to piggyback on this channel. And so this particular segment is no exception. For this particular example here, there were several ladies who joined the We in Miami podcast, and they got into a diatribe, if you will, on why they will never, ever again date a broke man. So modern dating and relationships and all these sorts of ideologies and philosophies is, fodder for this channel. And that's to put it mildly. We spare no expense to use every opportunity that we can to supply some sort of logic and sensibility to some of the crazy stuff that not just women, but everybody, men and women, everybody be saying nowadays out here on these streets. And this is no exception. So I'm going to go ahead and play this and we'll talk about it. Again, this is women on the We in Miami podcast talking about how or why they will never, ever date a broke guy. So, of course, we are going to give our 2 cents on this and talk about what they had to say once we finish playing this clip.
I will never again in my life with a broke man.
Amen.
I don't care what you call me a gold digger, never in my fucking life would I ever deal with a broke nigga.
Would you consider yourself to be a gold digger?
No, absolutely not, because I'm the type of person that I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna make my own money.
Women will always forever do more. Are you gonna carry the baby 4.5 times out the month? No, he's not. So it's never gonna be 50-50. Women always give more.
Really?
Period.
So you believe that?
Of course I believe that.
Nowadays, guys want us to pay bills. They want us to have our shit together. They want us to match their masculinity or whatever.
Us women, we can't live off of one income anymore. So women started working, they started hustling. So over time, women started hustling harder than men because naturally we are a little more organized. We're better at doing some jobs than they are. Now we became a little too strong-minded. We got big-headed.
They want us to do half of what they're supposed to do.
Plus what we do.
We also got to
talk about the situations we walk ourselves into.
That's what I'm saying. It'll never be 50-50.
They started slacking. They don't want to pay bills. They don't want to do shit. They want to be in the house or they mama house.
Because you know what? Women are better at running than men are sometimes.
If I don't date broke niggas, like to be with, raise my kids with, no.
But would that mean that you're just using them for their
right? Them broke just be laying the pipe.
Because that's all they got.
The rich niggas be tired a lot. They be sleeping.
All I heard was beep boop, beep beep boop, beep beep boop. Then the other one started talking beep 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 boop beep boop. And it's like, wow, these ladies have opinions of their own. I swear I've never heard this before. And this is the scenario. This is the situation. We've got a pandemic going on when it comes to the psychosis of the American people. And right now, I would say that in this time in human history, I would say that this is the most mentally I don't want to say challenged, but mentally I don't know, struggling group of people that has ever walked the earth. These are the most lost individuals. You can have your preferences. I'm not saying that you can't. You can have your lifestyle choices. And if your black card can swipe high enough, then why not deal with guys who have better lifestyles and live that life? I'm not here to hate on whatever anybody's trying to do per se, because they're going to do it anyway. But the point I'm trying to make is that it's happening too often and it's way too common. And this is weird behavior. And it needs to be called out as such. This is completely deviating off the rails. And they're trying to really normalize. Well, it's not trying to. It has already become normalized in the mainstream to view men in this capacity. The way that I honestly feel that women view men is how generally speaking, how black people view white people. And where it's a situation, especially where there's white privilege and, hey, I need mines. Where's mines? And it's just like, okay, well, what did you do to achieve that? Still give me mines. I want mines. And if they steal from a white guy, it's like, I stole from a white guy. I stole from a white company. I ain't steal from a black company though. That's the sisterhood, basically. And so when these girls are out here and they do something to a man, it's like, he's a man. So he can handle it. He got it. He should be able to handle it. I'm the emotional based creature. He's not. He'll be better. And just move on. And so that's why they can speak about men so like they're so disposable. And they just go through life swiping their card, devaluing themselves and their self-esteem. And they just keep swiping, and feel no remorse. And then once they actually verbalize what's going on in their heads, it has this pathology to it. I have more. But how about you, sir? How do you feel about this scenario, man? Where's modern dating headed with this in the dating pool?
It's going into the toilet. Well, it's already in the toilet.
In there.
That was very well said. I didn't think of it that way. That's a very interesting perspective on that. It is, yeah, they do sort of callously like think of men as just these disposable. It's almost like a wet wipe. Oh, I use this to wipe the crack of my ass. Let me just dispose of it. Like a lot of men are perceived in that capacity nowadays, and it's very unfortunate. I forget the topic that we did. This was a long time ago, so this one I'm not going to recall off the top of my head. But we had a topic that we were discussing, and you brought up the point about how them speaking in this capacity is a reflection of the type of men that they choose to give their energy to. Exactly. So, this is once again another shimmering example of this not necessarily being a reflection upon men entirely, although men do have work to do. Don't get me wrong. But this is more so a reflection of the type of guys that y'all talk to. Like, this just reeked of, I talk to dusty, crusty men. And I'm going to project my failures because of the fact that I deal with dusty, crusty men onto all men and sort of spew out this ideology which suggests that all men are this way. And it's just completely one-sided and lacking in any kind of reasonable thought process. Like, you know, I got a younger sister. One time I was hanging out with a group of her friends. Oh, no, rather I was talking to one of her friends on the phone one day. And, you know, she was talking about how she's struggling and she wants this kind of guy who's like this or like that or like this or like that, blah, blah, blah. And so, you know, I posed some questions to her because she talked about how she wants a guy who's ambitious. She wants a guy, you know, 4-letter words, more 4-letter words and code words, right? So, you know, she was throwing out that she was like, oh, I want a guy who's like this or like that or ambitious. You know, it's not really about money per se, but he needs to have these sort of intangible qualities and be ambitious. And I posed the question to her, okay, well, what if he is the regional manager at Walmart? You know, and simple questions. I said, what if he is the regional Walmart manager? So, you know, regional Walmart managers, and I happen to know this for a fact, make about $75K or more, depending on how many years they have doing it. Because when you're a regional manager, you run several stores, not just one. And it's, you know, if you've become a regional manager, it means that you've been in the Walmart system for years. So you're climbing the Walmart ladder. Now, the Walmart ladder isn't as sexy as Merrill Lynch or the corporate ladder or something like this, but you're climbing a ladder nevertheless. And so I asked her, okay, if you want a guy who's ambitious, what if it was a guy who was the regional manager of Walmart and he was making good money and doing his thing? Would you want to date that guy? She said no. Because it had nothing to do with ambition in a vacuum. It was about the type of ambition. See, like women got it. Like a lot of these women have it twisted, and these women in this clip, I would imagine, think along the same lines. Like, they're not going to date a guy who's a structural engineer or an architect.
No, that's
because
boring.
To them, yeah, exactly. Because to them, a guy like that is boring. But I guarantee you that a structural engineer or an architect is going to be a guy who handles his business, who runs the household, who makes the money, and who's not going to make you feel as though you need to do all of that stuff that they was talking about in that clip, and is not going to make you feel as though you need to come to the table doing all of these things to supplement for everything that he's lacking. So really, who are the type of men that you're giving your energy to? You don't want to date the IT guy. You don't want to date the structural engineer. You don't want to date the architect. You don't want to date the guy who, after there's a hurricane, he's climbing up on power lines to restore power, jobs that you can't do because most of you are physically unable to do them. You won't date those guys because those guys don't excite your emotions enough, because you live through the prism of your phones and your feeds and the music that you listen to. And so what's masculine to you isn't actual masculinity. So you'll date a guy who is popping on Instagram or who's a rapper or an entertainer, guys who from a masculinity standpoint aren't real men and don't have actual manhood abilities or skills to speak of. But because that's what gets you going, those are the types of guys that you talk to. And then when they disappoint you because they place these stipulations on you that are disadvantageous to your individuality, you then talk about how all men ain't worth nothing but laying pipe and that you won't date a broke guy, because a lot of those guys also tend to be broke, struggle rappers on the struggle bus and whatnot. You know what guys aren't broke? Structural engineers and architects. Those guys aren't broke, but again, those guys are boring. And when push comes to shove, women with this type of pathology, to use your word, will forego the things that they claim to be desiring in lieu of what most excites their emotions. And that's their greatest fatal flaw. So, like, this is just a reflection of the type of guys that y'all talk to, ladies. not all of y'all, but a good amount of y'all, a good enough amount of y'all who are willing to get onto these types of shows and spew this BS out into the masses for other impressionable women to listen to and pick up on and decide, oh, I can think the way I've been thinking because they think this way too. And as long as you continue to think this way, you'll continue to feel as though men are, nothing more than disposable, penises, I guess, is a way to kind of put it mildly. But that's what kind of rang true to me. And this ain't just women on OnlyFans, Instagram, the internet at large. This is dissipated into the masses, and everyday women walking around out here in these streets who are going to school, working in retail, working in the service industry. They think like this too. And it's crazy and it's insane. And all I can say to you guys out there who are in the IT or STEM sciences and studying to become structural engineers and architects, keep doing what you're doing, because you're not the one that's in the wrong. It's women like this who are in the wrong.
No, and vet them, just to piggyback off that, and vet them appropriately. Because if they weren't going to deal with you until they found out you were a structural engineer, you know what I'm saying? The mood changed. All of a sudden, she's being nicer now. That's a nah, bro. That's very conditional. I wonder what other conditions are going to come up later. So, your heads up, man. Words to the wise. And you really got to be mindful. That girl didn't call herself a gold digger, because gold digger has such a connotation to it where they really think of, hot young girl dealing with 83-year-old man about to kick the bucket. And it's like, oh, gold digger, or somebody who's really balling hard, multi-millionaire, and it's just some girl leeching and just taking money from him. And it's just like, nah, you don't have to. I mean, if you want to reserve gold digger for that term, fine, girl. You ain't no gold digger.
Yeah, right.
But if your objective whenever you're dealing with a man is his income, nothing else. I've heard these women say, I don't want to get cheated on. I don't want to share no man. But in the same breath, they said, I'll deal with a cheater who got the bag though. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he got the bag. And so what? So all of these conditions, what should we believe? When should we believe what they're saying? And this is where I have come to conclusions with, because they literally talk out of both sides of the neck. These types of women, not all of them. Come on. and they you got to say that sometimes. Not me, guy. He ain't talking about me. And by the way, ladies, in the comments section, could you please let us know, are Birkin bags lifestyles really that important? Do we really need that? If you're no, I don't need no Birkin bag. I don't need none of that. Okay, well, what's your definition of a Birkin bag lifestyle? What would he like? What would be ideal? Is it an excursion somewhere while you're on some resort? That's Birkin bag money still. You're just not in a bag. So please, ladies, let us know. Are these lifestyles that important? Yeah. And I'll say this too, because these girls are talking about all these dusty dudes. Well, they're dusty. They wouldn't say they are dusties, with their piercings and their tattoos and, multicolored hair and all this other stuff. They wouldn't call themselves average, or dusty, but they're average women. So they get average dudes. Oh, they may bag a guy in the sense of they'll have sex with a guy who makes X amount of dollars. But what did you just say? You didn't say anything. Who are the guys that's hanging around that actually want to be with you? Is it all of these dusty broke guys? Then guess what you are, man? You're dusty and broke. And women, their value isn't equated off money. So you can be $100,000 woman and you broke, because that's your money's not in your wallet, sister. Your money is in your femininity, your value that you hold to yourself. You're not just giving it to the streets. So yeah, you broke and dusty, just like the broken dusties you deal with. And people really need to look in the mirror. everybody wants to talk about accountability. Yeah, man, look in the mirror. And you have to cut people off. All this giving people a fair shot. Everybody's a unicorn. Everybody's, oh, come on, man. Give me a fair shot. To tell you a great sob story. But if you believe that, that's on you. Their track record speaks for itself. They got a rap sheet, and they're going to change for you. So who's the fool here, them or you? So we really got to be mindful as people. These girls can sit here and fling crap at the walls all day and holler about broke boys and, rich guys and all sorts of crap. At the end of the day, they don't respect anybody. So therefore, they don't respect themselves. So these young ladies can be in Miami. All right. They can do whatever they want. All right. You're getting a hard pass, man. All of you. So, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Wild stuff, man.
Yeah, it's so funny, man. It's just like, Lotto, a few videos back, she's like, oh, I was so disappointed. I was trying to put this song out, but the artist who I was featured on the song with wanted to have sex with me.
Come
And I really felt some type of way about that.
Come
And it was
on.
like, well, it's like, all right, if you want to choose to feel violated because of that, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
But you constantly put content out where you are basically leveraging your looks and your vagina to get ahead in life. You put the content out there. You are always going to receive what you put out into the universe. That will always happen. It's full circle. It's a universal law. So if you put out into the atmosphere that you're available to the highest bidder and you can't be with me unless you're a rich guy who has a bag, then a rich guy who has a bag is going to test the limits on your rhetoric. And at that point, it's unreasonable to challenge that. You can choose to feel disrespected if you want, but the way that the real world works, if you're reasonable, you understand where that energy came from. So you can decline it, but getting offended by it shows that you just sort of lack in the type of critical thinking that is tantamount to actually making it far in this crazy world. And it's the same thing with chicks like this. You are like the men that you are with are a reflection of you. Like the way that they're talking, I can automatically tell they deal with dusty, crusty men. So they probably deal with department store guy, restaurant cook guy. And I'm not trying to disparage restaurant cook guy or department store guy either. But these are the types of men that those women are talking about. It is what it is. You're not dealing with hedge fund guy because hedge fund guy can spot your worth a mile away and know that there's better options out there for him. So when you talk about how you will never, ever date a broke guy and you good for this and good for that and good for this, definitely check yourself in the mirror. I thought that was a very good piece of sound advice because you're being with quote unquote broke. And again, we can get into the weeds with what qualifies as broke. But I think within the context of this particular topic, I think I know what they're referring to as broke. And it might actually be actual broke for real, judging by the way that they're talking and how they acting. That's a reflection on you and how what you put into the atmosphere is going to dictate type of men that you get back to you in return. And your currency isn't worth enough for men of true value to determine that you are anything that's worth their time. But again, most of the men of true value probably don't excite your emotions enough anyway, so it's a moot point. Nevertheless, this is all on y'all, all y'all ladies out there talking all of this crazy stuff. Y'all are on this modern mentality, getting on all of these podcasts talking about you will and will not tolerate. But behind closed doors and in the shadows, you know what it is that you garner for real. And that's something that you're going to have to reconcile personally. That is not a reflection of men because all men are not even close to what you just described. And you can be very clear about that.
100. And I'll just say this. It's just wild just thinking that if I polled 100 of these modern women, 100 of them is going to give me bad boy on a motorcycle, ripped jackets, arm showing, sunglasses, chewing a piece of straw, spurs on his boots, you know, tattoo on his arm, and then, you know, she comes to him, try to talk to him, and he's emotionally unavailable. Trauma life, clearly. She wants him. Well-to-do man goes to the same diner, pulls up in his Volkswagen. You know, that'll get you no play. But it screams, I'm an engineer. He pulls up to the same diner, Volkswagen. Clearly got the bag. She's dealing with motorcycle, tattoo, arm showing, Spurs man. And then she'll run to the internet after emotionally unavailable, clearly traumatized man traumatizes her. Then she runs to the internet and screams, I'm a victim. No, ma'am. You chose that because you didn't see Volkswagen man. All right. He was a little too clean cut. You know, a little too boring, a little too safe. I need a little something, a little edge. And whenever that's the choice, there's immaturity there. And all I heard was a room full of middle school girls when these girls were in here talking. Yeah. That's all I heard was beep boop, beep, 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 boop. 1010 001. What you say, girl? 001. Oh yeah, that's true. 110. What are we doing? So yeah, man, whenever I hear them speaking like R2D2, it's like, ma'am, we're done here. So yeah, man, take notes, everybody. The gospel is on the internet. Do a little bit of digging, and you should be able to find you some answers about what's going on out here. You should be able to navigate these waters a lot better now that you know how these people really think, because they're actually talking out loud. So take notes. Take notes.
Yeah, they're very emboldened in their ideology and brazen enough that they can proudly say it on wider platforms and not feel as though they are risking being held accountable for it. And, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, y'all ladies need to just learn how to make better choices, or live with the choices that you make, but don't, you know, project that as a problem on men when that's a you problem. Like that you want to, there's guys out here who aren't broke as you claim, because it's always about income and money when it comes to a man, right? So there's a whole bunch of dudes out here who ain't broke and they don't excite you enough. And so you won't talk to them either. So, you know, figure out what it is that you want and, you know, keep that BS to yourself. Like, you know, seriously.
The emotionally unavailable biker.
Yeah, right. Or a rapper or NBA player or NFL player who already has a body count that is publicly acknowledged, and yet you still go for it anyway and then get upset.
Hey, man,
when
it's
you get
the American dream, bro. It's the American
Yeah.
dream.
yeah. But it's all the man's fault, right? What are you gonna do? Yeah.
The patriarchy.